So Grant Platner also has some pretty big name endorsements. According to Politico, Maine's Platner now has the support of three labor unions. Organized labor is getting behind Grant Platner's upstart Maine Senate primary campaign just a day after the state governor, Janet Mills, entered the race as the preferred candidate of the Democratic establishment. That tells you a lot right there of why she's stepping in. Nobody asked you to. And from my recollection, she said she was going to retire after this. She wasn't going to run again. So it took some heavy APAC money to get her in the race. Obviously, nobody just jumps in and changes their mind and says, I'm going to run for Senate in their old age, unless money's behind it. The United Auto Workers endorsed the Oyster Farmer Wednesday, joining the Maine State Nurses Association and International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers in a contest that could help shape the ideological contours of the Democratic Party. So basically, what they're saying is here, hey, three unions just endorsed a guy who stands up for what the people want: the PROS Act, the PRO Act, Medicare for all, ending arms to Israel, increasing minimum wage, protecting the environment, taxing the rich. She's in favor of the opposite. Don't get me wrong. Janet Mills was an okay liberal governor. She was not a Republican. She was not a Trump supporter. She was not the worst of the worst when it comes to Democrats as a governor. But she's no Graham Platner. This is not her time. Her time is past. This is the same shit they did in 2016 with Bernie. He had all of the base supporting him. And then just like that, the establishment, the leaders, same thing in 2020, they just ganged up on him. They did whatever they could through whatever loopholes to make sure Bernie didn't win. They're going to try the same shit here. I don't think it's the right time, though. I think that time is past. I don't think they're going to be able to. I don't think any establishment or corporate backing Janet Mills gets is going to be able to beat the grassroots funding and support that Graham Plattner has. Inequality is out of control in our country, UAW President Sean Fain said in a statement Wednesday. Today, the top 1% have more wealth than the bottom 95% of humanity combined. Graham understands this, and at a time when too many politicians take their cues from billionaires and corporate lobbyists, he has chosen to stand with the working class. I believe Sean Fain was getting some criticism for meeting with Trump or agreeing with something that Trump did. He's a politician himself. He is in charge of a union, or he is the president of a union. To maintain that leadership role, to maintain that position, he has to be at least fair. So Trump did a couple things that Sean Fain liked, that at least in the long run or on paper sounded good, but obviously Sean Fain was very critical of Trump for the last few years. So I don't think anything of that. It's not like he's bowing down to Trump and kissing the ring like Mika and Joe did on MSNBC. Politico goes on to state the UAW represents nearly 2,000 employees in the Pine Tree State. That's a big deal. That's not just 2,000 employees. Think about all their families, their friends, the people that know them in general. You can convince people through just gaining worker blue collar votes, just like that. Mills launched her campaign Tuesday, capping off a recruiting effort from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who views her as Democrats' best chance to unseat the state longtime Republican Senator Susan Collins. How though? I mean, how? Platner secured an endorsement for Senator Bernie Sanders in August and has been praised by Senators Martin Heinrich. I like him because he's a fly fisherman. He's been trash on policy though, um, at least standing up for what's right. And Chris Murphy and spoke privately with Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. So he's making some connections. He's networking. I don't mind that. As long as he doesn't turn into another Fetterman or Kirsten Sinema. That we can't keep having these fucking candidates that say they're progressive and they're in favor of this or that on the campaign trail, and then they shut up or do the exact opposite once they're in office. The Maine State Nurses Association has cast Platner as the best candidate to defend Maine residents from healthcare cuts and Republicans' signature one big beautiful bill law. Sorry guys, I will get better at speaking soon. On that topic, yeah, that's going to be the game changer for the upcoming local elections, the special elections, um, the governor's race in Virginia, the governor's race in New Jersey. the mayoral race in New York City, honestly, I think Sliwa could drop out and Cuomo would still lose horribly. It's not going to make a difference. So that's basically his endorsements, the ones that matter to me at the moment, really. Now, talking about him being or Janet Mills being the best candidate for the Democratic Party is bullshit. And more perfect union goes into it right here. Platner best positioned Maine Dem to defeat Susan Collins. I'm pretty sure this is the poll I saw a couple months ago, but I don't know. Democratic oyster farmer Graham Platner is the candidate best positioned to defeat Maine's incumbent senator, Republican Susan Collins, in next year's midterm election, according to a new poll. So maybe it's not, because this is from October 10th. Of 500 likely voters conducted by Zenith Research for More Perfect Union. In the initial poll, Platner and Collins, who is running for her sixth term, start out tied. Governor Janet Mills, a Democrat who is rumored to launch a Senate run next week, holds a 5-point lead over Collins in the initial poll. After respondents were shown short biographies for both candidates, however, Platner led Collins by 14 points, while Mills led Collins by 8 points. Now, do we want to win or do we want to destroy them? And also bring great legislation to the state of Maine and the United States of America? I think it's going to be the latter. I don't think it's going to be Janet Mills, who's just going to barely win and implement some incrementalist policies. Probably vote for some Trump judges. Maybe even vote to cut health care. Fucking Fetterman. Platner outperforms Mills most with young voters, independents, rural voters, men, and gun owners. Did you just hear that? Let me say that again. Platner outperforms Mills with most young voters, independents, rural voters, the ones that Hillary and Biden and Harris are trying to get, men, and gun owners. This is not made up. This is not fantasy. This is right here, right now. So you see the polls here. Initial ballot, Graham Platner, Susan Collins, 38-38. Janet Mills, 42-37 over Susan Collins. Informed ballot, Graham Platner, 48-34. Janet Mills to Susan Collins, 44-36. The only way this race goes to Mills, the primary, the only way this primary goes to Mills is if Platner drops out or the Democratic Party just completely sides against Platner in the primary. Just demolish. They go worse in on him than they did Zoran. Now, if they do that, I will never forgive them. As I've said in other videos, I live in Pennsylvania. I'm already not voting for Josh Shapiro next year to reelect him as governor. He'll be fine without me. It has nothing to do with that. Even if it was it might be harder to decide that for me if it was a neck and neck race, if it was a close race. Same thing with Madeline Dean, my representative, but it's not. So they don't need my fucking vote. I'm going to stand by principle on them receiving Israeli lobby money and Josh Shapiro being horrible on school vouchers and horrible on free speech when it comes to Palestinian voices or pro-Palestinian voices. It's not my cup of tea. I'm okay on that. I decided after Harris I won't do that again. So last but not least, we have some videos of Graham Platner speaking, answering questions, responding to people. And there's so much more to talk about this candidate. He recently had his old social media posts that he deleted. Some of them he deleted, some of them are still up there. They were brought up by the media. Now, this would not be brought up if he wasn't some big deal. He is a big deal. Do not get that twisted. What he said is not a big deal. He talked about what most Democratic voters talk about, how a lot of cops are racist. Not all of them. A lot of cops are racist. They're a bunch of racist white people, a lot of them. They give good cops a bad name. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he claimed he was a communist and a socialist in another one. He has apologized for a lot of this. And honestly, I don't think he needed to. It doesn't offend me that he did. I consider myself a democratic socialist when it comes to actual ideology, but to generalize it, I can consider myself a leftist. Now, I could give a rat's ass if he doesn't consider himself a leftist, a socialist, a communist, whatever he wants to call himself. As long as he's not acting crazy, I don't care. He's not calling himself a conservative, or a libertarian. That'd be nuts with how he has created his platform, as we went over earlier. Medicare for all, being in favor of ending arms to Israel as they committed genocide in Gaza, protecting the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, increasing minimum wage, taxing billionaires. These are left wing policies. So I just realized my microphone's away from me. But that is what I care about. That is what most people care about. He is trying to bring direct help to people. We're going to talk about that another time. I'm going to talk about one candidate a week, like I said, but that's going to be a smaller video that we can talk about pretty simply. It's not going to be something like this, 18, 20 minutes now. So if it loads here, this is a child asking Platner a question on, I believe, what his top policy was.
You're most passionate about healthcare. Absolutely. And at this point, I think that until we start getting Americans living healthier lives, until we get to points where a single medical emergency is
Oh, sorry guys.
What is the issue that you're most passionate about? Healthcare. Absolutely. And at this point, I think that until we start getting Americans living healthier lives, until we get to points where a single medical emergency is no longer going to destroy someone financially for the rest of their lives, until that comes, I'm not going to say everything else is unimportant, because it isn't. Sadly, we have a long, long list of other stuff to do. But to me, making sure people can live safe, healthy, happy lives, that's going to set the stage for the rest of those fights. Does that answer your question? Yes.
So, other than his great 10 out of 10 response, totally based, just a based response. But other than that, look at this man's fucking stature. Hey, ICE agents, come and try to arrest this man. Come to try to throw him to the ground, like you did fucking Cat in Illinois. You're not going to. This man will eat you alive. Seems like he's a teddy bear when it comes to actually caring about people, but I wouldn't fuck with him. So let's go on to another video here. I really enjoy this one. He's a little more. It doesn't seem he's as calculated here. He's just talking.
What do you say to that argument and that kind of hesitation from folks that you're just not as tested as someone like a Mills is?
One, I would say that we've been sending up well-tested people for decades, and the country is in worse straits than it's ever been. So I don't I don't believe that we're not as worse straits than it's ever been, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. It's a mess right now, and it's a mess that is, in my opinion, been built specifically by the political class, and it's time to do something different. It's time to run a different kind of playbook. It's time to engage with, I would say, which is a different kind of politics. I don't like, if we're going to beat Susan Collins, we need to run a kind of campaign and engage with the kind of politics that actually engages working Mainers, engages regular people. And people feel so disengaged from politics these days. The reason that we have these turnouts is because this makes people feel engaged. This doesn't happen for other people. This isn't happening on other campaigns. And it's not because of me. I think that in many ways, I'm just coming out and saying to people what they already know to be true. And I'm also talking about working people building power together and building a politics that represents them. People are angry. People are frustrated. People feel so alienated from the political system. And I do not think that the answer to that is the exact same kind of politics and the exact same kind of campaign, and in many ways, the exact same kind of candidates that we've been running year after year after year.
Not speaking to his stance on criminal justice, but this is what pisses me off when people say we need more police funding. It has not worked. Doing the same thing over and fucking over again does not work. The same thing with it, health insurance, the same thing with education, the same thing with housing. I remember I was too young and I wasn't really into politics at the time, but too young to understand the issue. But the housing crisis, McCain said bailouts for people would be the last resort. And that's very like that was just kind of up to him. Who the fuck is he to decide what the last resort is? How bad does it have to get before we're in that scenario? So I like him saying this right here. And just for example, on the criminal justice issue, when people say, "Oh, Democrat ran cities, liberal policies are the reason that crime is so high." First off, crime has decreased. Now, if you want to talk about crime in inner cities, they've increased the police budget every fucking year in most cases. That is something that inner city Democrats do. They are not. Most of them are not hard left wing populist Democrats. Andrew Cuomo would increase the police budget if he could. Zoran Mamdani wants to reallocate it, not defund it, reallocate it to deal with mental health and social workers, to have those avenues to help people instead of just having a guy with a gun show up that might shoot your dog, might shoot an unarmed black guy, might cause some other issues, might abuse his power, might be corrupt and lie. These are things that people need to understand, that doing the same old thing isn't going to work. Not saying we need to all, go classless, governless like communism, but we need some small, or we need more than just some small tweaks around the edges at this point. Incrementalism does not help. That's what we learned from Biden. It fixes some things and it's a slow recovery when you have a pandemic or recession, but it does not help fix the core issues. It does not help fix the cause of these issues. The reason health insurance and rent and education are so costly are corporations and banks. It's not really complicated. Let's move on. AOC and Bernie held a town hall on CNN, and they did a great job, I would say. I mean, they always do, but better than normal, I would say. AOC specifically laid it out. Trump does not care about you if you do not support him and you did not vote for him. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care about anything about you, anything you need. You're not his constituent. He's as far as he is concerned. She says it plainly, though. She cares whether you voted for her or not. She cares about you and wants you to have health insurance. You don't have to like her policies, but once they're in effect, if they get put in effect, she wants you to thrive from them. She wants you to benefit from them. So here's Graham Platner doing something similar, not just attacking someone. And I could do better about this too, but he actually explains to the crowd and to her why he's the candidate for her.
For the illegals that are in this state that get free benefits. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you listen to what she was saying, just hear me out. If you listen to what she was saying, at its core, she's angry about the exact same things you are. People are propagandized, people are misinformed, but people are not stupid. And we shouldn't treat them as such. People are angry because they know they're being screwed. They might get lied to, they might get taken in. If somebody robs your neighbor's house, you don't go over there and laugh at them afterwards. They've been taken advantage of. And that's what this is. People are being robbed. They're being robbed of their critical thinking. They're being robbed of their empathy. The answer to that is not shame. The answer to that is not anger. The answer to that is empathy and compassion.
That's what we need more of. So he just makes her stance fall flat on its face. She goes, "Okay, that's not what's going on." But in more so, he says it in a way that gets her to realize he's in favor of helping her, not helping undocumented immigrants, or at least not helping just undocumented immigrants. So that's a big deal. That's the type of messaging, that's the type of communication we need coming from Democrats to constituents, whether you're an independent, Republican, Democrat, um, whether it's your first time voting or you've been voting for years, whether you voted for Trump last time or you voted for Harris, whether you voted for Trump all three times. I mean, at this point, if you voted for him three times, I don't think anything's going to convince you to do otherwise. But we still want you to have health insurance. We still want you to have an affordable living. So that's pretty much it for today. I do want to plug his website again, Graham GRAHAM for Senate FOR, not the number four, Graham for Senate.com. Donate, check out his platform, read the about me, check out the store. Some pretty cool stuff here. Um, Most likely to start a revolution. Voted most likely to start a revolution. Maybe I'll buy that shirt. But that's basically what this type of thing is going to look like. I want people to understand who these candidates are and why people like myself are so happy they're running, so motivated and enthusiastic that they're running. Um, yeah, go check them out. There's, like I said, there's plenty of more coverage to go over when it comes to Graham Platner and other candidates. Next week, I'm going to cover Zohran Mamdani. Um, Long overdue with the especially with the election coming up. But yeah, please hit that like and subscribe button. Please keep following. Check out my videos on TikTok. Follow me on Blue Sky. Follow me on here, and have a great day.